Thank you so much for joining us. Come down to the table and have a seat. I am DM Midgarin, and I'm joined today by two wonderful people. We have Kosuko, and we have Thalor, who is returning. But Kosuko, this is your first time here on the show, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and are you excited to be here?
Oh, I'm very excited to be here. I'm an amateur streamer. I mostly just play video games and have people chill in my Discord, and we just talk about random stuff.
That's great. How long have you been playing tabletop RPGs?
Oh, geez. Like since 2007, I guess.
Wow, 2007. I think that's around the same time I started playing, so kudos. It's a good year.
Yeah, right.
And welcome back, Thalor. How was your break?
Uneventful.
So today's topic is one I don't actually hear a lot about, and I really think that we should talk about it more often, and that is couples in tabletop RPGs. Now, we usually hear about it through like the telling of horror stories or people that are dating and stuff went down. But there is a good thing about having your significant other in the game with you, because it's always good to have, couples sharing like an experience or sharing a hobby. But sometimes that can actually take the wrong turn. I wanted to talk about that today. And so I felt like both of you have some very interesting stories from what I've heard. So who would like to start us off? So do you guys prefer couples in your games, or is that something that you guys try to shy away from?
I usually try to discourage it, but it usually ends up not working anyway. Either they are a previous couple or they hook up during the experience if it's just all single people. I don't necessarily, won't game with somebody who is, has a couple in a game, but it does make it a bit difficult to be unbiased when it comes to that sort of thing, because especially if the couple is a DM and a player, or co-DMs or something like that, because favoritism becomes a big problem, whether it's pro-favoritism towards the couple, the other side of the couple, or anti-favoritism because they don't want to be seen as playing favorites towards their other half, as it were.
Actually, that's brings a really interesting point. So in my Tuesday game, my wife, she actually plays one of the characters. Her and I have been playing, before we got married, and normally it's really fine, but she's had that where like she goes and hangs out with a couple of her friends, and the friends are like, "Psst, hey, has Mid like given you any like clues about what's coming up, or is there any like inside information that you have?" She did tell me one time that someone actually asked her if she was trading sexual favors for inside knowledge, and she was like, no. It's like, it was a very weird conversation. She came to me, she's like, you would not believe what just happened. Like, the two people, my wife and this other guy, have gone to get food, and during the drive, she was asked if she traded sexual favors for like inside information, and she was like, no, I know as much as you do. Mid does not talk about his games around me. He doesn't, he has a little binder. I don't go in the binder. I don't, because I want it to be a surprise for everybody. I tried to be fair with everybody, but it does stuff like that does happen, and even if it's not intentional, there is some type of favoritism.
Did this happen while you were married? Before you were married?
Before we were married, yeah.
Well, then, yeah, because there is no sexual favors after you're married.
I have two children that go against that narrative right there.
Yeah, so do I. Just wait.
Oh, shit, bro.
All right. So I know some of the stories that you have, Thalor, but unfortunately that's because some of them involve me. So we heard from you, so we'll get back to those stories in a bit, and I'm a good sport. I'm gonna butcher this name, so just edit it to the point where I say it right. Kosuko?
You're close enough. You got it.
Nailed it first try. Ugh! Keep this in.
Would subscribe.
So
isn't that what your wife said too?
Damn, a carpet bomb going on over here. Is this Kuwait?
Yeah. So you DM as well. Do you like when a couples are in your games, or do you try to shy away from them?
I very rarely DM'd, mainly because I haven't had the opportunity like come up. So I have like a different perspective where like there have been games where I have been a part of a group where the DM is dating / married to one of the players, And oddly enough, he was very reserved and like holding back on like trying to like play favoritism. But I noticed that he would like, his significant other was always like getting stressed out because she was just, you could feel like the tension there. And it kind of like created some awkward situations. I have one small story where we were in a campaign where we were fighting a dragon, and she was getting frustrated because she couldn't hit the dragon because it was up in the air, and she was a melee fighter, and she was getting so frustrated that the DM was like getting very, very uncomfortable in the whole situation. So I basically threw my hat in the ring to break the tension, and was like, I throw my character up onto the dragon, and like the relief on his face at that moment to like shatter the tension there, like it's a weird situation. But like if I was to DM, I genuinely don't care because I leave it to the people at that point, and I would be like, look, you guys need to get your shit together or I'm not going to bother with this group anymore. Yeah, I'm more of a nip it in the bud type person, I guess.
And you do have to do that as a DM, that has a significant other in their game. There's definitely has to be some type of boundaries, because any DM will get hit on a lot because they're playing every other character. You are the barmaid, you are the bartender, you are the king, you are the queen, you are the princess, you are everybody. And so you're going to have players that are like, hey, or try to seduce you and try to flirt with you. And there has to be a level of comfort for that. Like me personally, I'm not really a DM that does a lot of romance. Like it happens in the world, but like it's the okay, well you guys go up to the inn, to the room in the inn, fade to black, and whatever happens, that's what happens. Like that's as far as I like to take those kind of things. For me personally.
Congratulations, you got dragon chlamydia.
Right. I'm not really one that wants to talk about or do a whole lot of, romance, but that's just me. Like even when I'm not playing with my significant other and I'm playing with other groups, the DM's like, oh, well, the farmer's daughter is, giving you the eyeballs. Like that's great and all, but my character's just not interested, honestly. I'm not really trying to play a romance or not trying to have a romance story around my characters. It's just not it's just not what I come to these games for.
I don't believe I've ever done any romance driven storylines. I don't even think any of my players have even indicated anything other than I'm trying to seduce the barmaid to get information, that sort of thing.
I played in a game of LF5R at one point, and we were beta testing the new edition. It's a lot of fun. And my character was a tattooed monk, and like his whole thing was like, oh, I'm apprentice under the sword master. He was the one that made the katanas. And like I had this long backstory, and we had another player that his whole thing is that he wanted to be in a love triangle with the other two players, including myself. And I was like, oh, I'm a monk, I'm celibate. Oopsies. Like not trying to be part of that like life at all. So it does get like a little thing. And I've had players that have come up to me. It's like, hey, my character wants a boyfriend. And it was a girl player, and she's like, my character wants a boyfriend, and it was also her pack demon. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, like that's kind of cute. So I gave her like sending stones, so she had a cell phone so she can call him up, and the demon would call her up, and I had a cute nickname for her, and we did role play a little bit, and yeah, it was cute. I thought it was honestly adorable. This big demon general had a girlfriend that he would like text like late at night, be like, what are you up to? I don't know. What are you up to?
I can totally see that. No, you hang up.
In
the middle of a fucking battle.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got a couple of girlfriends.
It was the cutest thing. Well, unfortunately, like she said, oh, I want to call my boyfriend. I was like, and I had nothing prepared for that night. Like I didn't know she was gonna do that, and I called her Sweetie. Well, that's one of the nicknames that I use for my wife. And my wife's like, that is not okay. Like, you cannot say that name, you cannot do that. And I was like, oh, okay, not a problem. And we kind of left it. Well, the gamer in question, she took that like, oh, I don't want to be a homewrecker. I was like, you're not. It was a slip up. Everybody's fine. It's okay. And like, she had like a small little, panic attack because she thought that she got in between me and my fiance at the time. So that kind of stuff is like, you have to walk a tightrope, So, but I mean, I'm taking up a lot of time. So, and like I said, I do believe that, couples should share hobbies, but sometimes like it just gets a little bit too much, like, and especially a role-playing game, like where you have to step out of your body and you have to step into the shoes of somebody else. Sometimes
it's just establishing boundaries at that point.
But some people have a trouble differentiating between fantasy and reality. So what are some of the benefits of playing with your significant other? What are some of the good things? Does anybody have any ideas?
Well, like you said, sharing a hobby is okay, as long as it's not every hobby. I mean, if you have something in common that you like, doing that is something that can actually bring you closer together. It's just you have to make sure that there's no bias going on, whether it's between two players or DM and a player, because that can cause problems. So as long as everything's laid out front and everybody knows that you're a couple beforehand, it can be a good thing, because you can share that experience, like you said, and that can bring you closer together.
Yeah. And I always find that spending time with a significant other, and sometimes just and when you play a game and you're not playing as a couple, I think that's actually really cool, because you can see a different side of that person. And sometimes my wife and I we play in other groups, and I think we've only been a couple in the groups like one time, and that was for a one shot. But most
are you talking being couple as your characters are couples, or couple?
Our characters are couples. So we played a one shot, and like our characters were married, and we based the characters off of Teddy Roosevelt and his wife. So it was Teddy Rough Rider and Edith Roosevelt. So that was a fun day. Actually, I wrote an entire scene and handed it to DM about how I was going to seduce my wife because she was mad at me. It's like I got her favorite wine, lit some candles, minstrels are playing in the background, and I'm just in the bed shirtless. And like I wrote it all out, and the DM like looked at it, went beet red, and just threw the paper at her. It's like, he does that.
Read this shit out loud.
Yeah, like our characters had an argument. We weren't having an argument, but our characters were having an argument, and I was like, I know how to fix this, for I am Teddy Rough Rider. Bully! Ha! But most of the time, her and I we're not a couple we're not playing couples. Like we play we play our own separate characters, and we journey through the world and as friends. And I find that just fun, just playing people that are not yourself. That's kind of the point of this game, anyways, or any tabletop RPG.
Yeah, you're not you anymore. You're the character, and that's where the line has to be like understood.
Yeah.
Actually, if I may, so we're talking about the two sides of a coin of a person, and I don't have a cheery story in this situation, but more of I was dating somebody at the time when I was starting to get into D&D, and the DM had me, my girlfriend at the time, and a few of our friends. And what had happened was we were all we all met on a boat, and we were like, me and her were like flirting as characters, and then she started flirting with another guy too. And I was just like, oh, whatever, it's the game. We're all having fun with it. We're doing our own things. I think I was a necromancer at the time, so I was just like, I mean, if you want to, be around a guy who smells like death all the time, by all means. And she's like, oh yeah, I like you, and I also like this guy. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And so they're hitting it off, and we're talking and stuff. And then like after after sessions, I would be like, hey, everything's cool, right? Like this, you're not interested in this guy, right? And she would be like, yeah, no, it's just for fun. And I was like, okay, cool. Then like down the line, outside of like the game, it's like started to realize, wait a second, she's hitting on this guy a lot in game now. And they actually had a point where their characters went like at the inn we were staying at, their characters ran upstairs to have some fun. And then like I want to say like a few weeks later, it turns out that she was cheating on me with him. And I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming, but I kind of should have, I guess.
That's rough. I'm sorry to hear that. It's stuff like that, especially when the fantasies goes further into reality, it does get a little hard, and it just makes it tough. It just makes it one more obstacle that people have to overcome, and one more thing that people have to keep in mind is that this is a fantasy, and reality shouldn't have too much of a say into it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this is true, but just because the fantasy was being played out in the game doesn't mean it, and no offense, it doesn't mean it wasn't going to happen anyway.
True.
There had to be some sort of thing there for her to be doing that, whether it's in-game or out of game. So unfortunately, it had to roll the way it did. But it could, this woman and guy could have been, you know, just party members, and it happens because if you get to know somebody, even as a friend, sometimes it happens. It happens to friends. It happens to workmates who work a lot together. They may not be, you know, role playing that they're married or having an affair in this, but they end up doing it anyway. So, you know, I don't think role playing had a big cause in that. I just think it was a facilitator.
It was more like, looking back on it, it was more of like it was a good cover story, and that's what threw me off the most, because like I was young at the time, I was naive, I was like, oh yeah, sure, like it's just the game, whatever, we're having fun.
Yeah.
So I would have gotten back by getting with him as well.
I think that's the same advice you gave me.
I liked him, but I didn't like him like that.
I think that's the same advice you gave me that one time. So, but speaking of that one time,
At one time.
right. I think you know we wouldn't be talking about couples, you know, if we didn't talk about the ending, the breakup. You know, how do you? Because if that happens, if something breaks up, even if it's not like game related, if you guys break up and you're in the game, that's a lot of stress. That's a lot of tension, and it's just not fun for anybody. And I'm going to switch this over to Thalor because you have some fun stories.
Oh yeah, I've got plenty of stories with that.
Go gentle on me.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't say most revolve around you, but there's a good portion of them to do.
I am a lover, not a fighter.
With various. Yes, yeah. Well, you are a battle turtle.
I love the battle turtle. Best character ever. I'll have to talk about the battle turtle one time.
Yeah, bring it up. Yeah, bring that up as a topic. That'd be great. How to create a battle turtle.
Best character.
No,
ever.
it starts off innocently enough, of course. You know, hey, this is my girlfriend. We want to game together. We game together, and me naively saying, okay, that's fine. Come on in. The first time it happened, I'm not going to get into details, but the first time it happened, you know, after that, I made a conscious effort to discourage couples from coming to the game because of that very reason. Because at the end of that relationship, which, you know, was a quite intense and long relationship where the breakup happened, it did cause problems. Most of the time it causes problems. This isn't with you, but most of the time it causes problems as one or the other of that person leaves the group, or sometimes both, and that causes even more problems, and it disrupts the play. Yeah. And now we have to find new characters and new players, and it just disrupts the flow of something that we view as fun. You know, once a week we get together to blow off some steam and kill some orcs or whatever. And now we can't do that.
I think I remember the one time that I had a breakup with a long-term girlfriend, and in your game. And I think we were young and dumb, and it's like, yeah, I'll come one week, and then she'll come one week, and I'll come the next week, and you're like, no, we're not dealing with that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with that. I'm a person, when I start a campaign, I want everybody there for the campaign.
That was a dumbass idea, and I do apologize.
It was an idea. I wouldn't say it was good or bad, but I mean,
I'm saying it's bad.
Be able to do that.
I'm saying it was a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, okay, good. I didn't want to go too harsh on you, but yeah, it was quite hard. But then there's the times when both of the two people are too stubborn to leave, one or the other, and so they have to contend with each other, and that gets a bit contentious. Snipping here and there, you know, little snide comments, in character, out of character. Refusal to help intentionally, and I didn't say anybody was doing this, but you know, there's a possibility of intentionally not helping your party member because it was a significant other from a while ago. Now, eventually, in your cases, you got over said problem, the two of you, and we were able to work together, you know, as a party and as a GM, and get the stuff done that we needed to get done. But for a couple weeks there, it was kind of on the fence. We weren't quite sure what was going to go down, and there were certain things that she was doing that was antagonizing you, and there were certain things you were doing that were antagonizing her.
Me? Antagonizing people?
No, I know. like, who am I talking about? Yeah. But I mean, and it's understandable. When you break up, there is contention between the two people. There obviously has to be, whether it's a mutual breakup or I've very rarely seen a breakup, even ones who say, oh, we did this mutually. We decided it was best. Well, we usually ends up being more, 80-20. We.
Yeah, there's no such
contention.
thing as a mutual breakup. There's not.
No. It's mutual because you're both broken up. That's
but like there's always some person that gets hurt a little bit more, and I know for me personally, like I'm a very emotional individual. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and so like it's like I don't hide it at all when I'm in hurt or I'm in pain. So and I know like the that woman, that person, it hurt a lot, seeing her every week and just trying to pretend like that entire year just didn't happen, and it just and it did happen, and it was very hard, and it was and just
then there was the next step beyond that. The next step beyond that was she started dating somebody else in the group.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was hard, and like
now we got 3 people who are contentious, but although one of them was really mild-mannered, I could really tell.
Oh yeah, he salt of the earth. But the ending of the story is, I think they have like 4 kids now.
Yeah, they got a couple dozen.
They've married for, I would like to say, like 8 years. They've been married 9 years, and they have 4 kids. I'm like, oh, cool. And like, I'm happy. Like, I'm friends with both of them on Facebook, but I mean, that doesn't really count. Yeah. So, but I mean,
yeah. I mean, but at first it became, because I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Looking back, and because she had so much told me that she was interested in this person before she met you, and she wasn't sure if he was the right person, and blah 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 blah. And it just became obvious that was going to happen, although I was sitting there hoping it wouldn't, but it did. And and I'm not the type of person to kick somebody out because they're dating. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. As long as everybody can hold it together, it's fine. But it just causes a lot of unwanted stress on everyone's part. Because you just don't want to have that kind of stress, in your life. And moving into the second one, I believe that person left of her own volition because I made a comment that said, really hope this works out, because the last time we had something like this, there was a contentious, and either she decided she didn't want to play anymore, or she decided to take it, just take a bow out, and she did. And, it made it a lot easier for me. I don't know how easy it made it for you, but
the second one. The second one.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, it was just, I think it was a conflict of scheduling. I think like she had to work, and it just, and then like she was like, oh well, I prefer just being at home and and just like hanging out with my online friends and doing art stuff. So, I mean,
that makes my job.
Yeah, it worked. I feel a lot better. I mean, that worked out. Yeah, that worked out for everybody, sort of.
Well, yeah. We won't go into that.
No, let's not go into that one at all. Let's move on and talk about other things. Yeah. Sailing ships and cabbages and springs.
Sunshine and rainbows. Gnomes barfing rainbows.
How about them goblins?
How about them goblins? Yeah, that Bloodbowl team's like looking good.
Oh god. Can we play that? Like, is there like a system that we can do that online and like have a league? I will stream the fuck out of Bloodbowl.
I know there was a JavaScript version of it a long time ago, but I don't know if that's been maintained. But you might want to check on Steam. I know Steam has a professionally made Bloodbowl application.
Okay.
I think it's like $50 or $60, but I think I bought it as well. They've made some serious updates to it, and I think they keep up with the rules, but I don't know if if you can host your own leagues on it. But Deck Builder might be able to. Tabletop RPG Manager inside of Steam might be able to do it. So yeah,
I am 100% willing to put the work in if I can do that, because that Blood Bowl is just fun. Because like I have, especially if I have my goblin team and they just die every game, constantly.
I'll stick with the undead. Thank you.
Yeah, well, because Well, I mean, it's really my fault because I name all my goblins like Crunchy on the outside, Nougat Center, just to give the troll something to like, ooh, like I should eat this. This is like candy. It's really my fault why my goblins keep dying.
To be fair, I mean, you could name a goblin, don't eat your own poison.
But I don't help the issue. But that was fun getting off topic there. Saving my dignity for like 2 minutes. I do appreciate all of you.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, your dignity is intact. I mean, to alleviate any question about what happened, everything ended up being okay. Everybody handled themselves after the first couple weeks of contention with grace, and it ended up being all right. Once the two parties in the first one got over themselves. And sometimes getting over yourself means finding somebody else to date. I believe that's what happened in both cases. And as soon as that happened, you guys became friends again. You stopped sniping at each other, and everybody got back to playing D&D, and it was a lot of fun. And, we never brought it up again until now because you're forcing us to.
I would like to point out that you were the one that brought up the topic. Like I
brought up the topic. When you want to bring this up, you're like, "Ooh, I think I'll talk about me now."
No, I said I want you to talk about me. That's different.
Oh, okay.
That's a different thing. I like it when people talk about me.
Is that a self-owned if you're making somebody else tell the story?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm totally fine with it. I think that those kind of stories or that kind of things that were in my life, they made me the person I am. So I mean, there's nothing. I'm not shying. I don't want to shy away from the mistakes I've made, because as long as I learn from them, as long as I grow from them, I don't find them as mistakes. I find them as learning opportunities. And I've told my wife this several times, like, if I did not learn these lessons, if I did not go through what I did, I wouldn't appreciate her as much as I do. And she's a wonderful woman. She's, my best friend and the person that I want to spend the next, 30, 40, 50 years with. And I wasn't that person 10 years ago. I really wasn't.
Oh, no, you weren't. You were definitely a bit more, for lack of a better word, childish.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's the wrong word, but it's the closest I can come to your attitude toward it.
I was not a overly mature person.
Right. I mean, and you never should be. I mean, but getting back to the topic, there are pros, there are cons. For me, personally, the cons outweigh the pros. Now, the game that I was in, that I'm DMing, before the great problem that we had with COVID-19, and we haven't gotten back to gaming yet because I prefer to game in person. I mean, that's the whole point of tabletop gaming, is to have it on the tabletop. Playing online doesn't really strike my fancy. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to play World of Warcraft or something.
Right.
But if I want to play role-playing games, I want to see the people I'm playing with and have fun and exchange stories. And half the time we're talking about, some stupid story or watching a stupid video and, just having fun. So right now I have a group of 2 guys, 3 girls, which is odd, I know. 2 of which I refer to as my wife and my second wife.
You really should not sign on to the Tuesday game, because that's all girls right now for me. Like it's either all girls or all the guys are also playing girls. So like, except Chief is playing the only guy, and I'm like, you are just swimming in a sea of estrogen.
I have no problems with that. I'm just saying, and these are real, life, female gamers, and that's been an odd one for me. Usually, it's been a nice even split, 3 and 3, whatever. But now, for some reason, it's 2 and 3, and I have no need to take it any deeper. But yeah, my wife plays. She plays a cleric badly. He wants to fireball everything. I'm like, you don't have that spell.
Oh, jeez.
And the other person who I refer to as my second wife plays a warrior. And the third female plays a sneaky thief who wants to just backstab everything. So it's dealing with that. But then we have a bard and I believe a ranger as well. But the 3 women get along, and we've had some really uproarious times. My wife enjoys playing because it gives us more time together, because with her profession and me doing what I was doing, we didn't see each other a lot. So that Friday night would always be, hey, let's go, pick up wife number 2, get in the car, go over, grab some food, head to D&D, have a good time there, have a good time coming back, and it increased the amount of time we got to see each other. And I know I'm not being biased against her because in either way, because most of the stuff that I do is randomized when it comes down to, who, sees this or who gets this or, who am I going to attack? Yeah. And I will use strategy. If she happens to be the person in front for some stupid reason and, they're going to take her out. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bias if I go after her. It's not a bias if I don't go after her. I'm actually using strategies and tactics. No, God forbid, monsters have tactics to try.
The monsters 100% know what they're doing.
Exactly. And so, I mean, she's a cleric. She's a healer. So as soon as they see that she's the one healing,
they're going to kill her.
They go after her. I mean, it's the same one. It's like, go hit the person with the pointy hat first. That's the mage, So, I mean, she keeps it on the down low, So she learned, after the first few times she was decimated. Maybe I shouldn't be so overt and going, oh dear God, please help. And whatever her incantation was to heal. So there is no bias on my end because I just know I'm not being biased. Sometimes she ends up on the good part of the stick. Sometimes she ends up getting, beaten up by the orc.
A lot of the stuff I do in the Tuesday game is a little bit random. I have a character, and we talked about him a couple times on the podcast. His name is Breeze, and when I made the character, I was like, okay, I'm going to fuck with one of the players, but I don't know which one. So I rolled a d6 and it landed on the character Akira. I was like, all right, well, this is the character I'm going to be fucking with. And so, like,
I do the same thing. If it wasn't random, I just say, oh, so you're playing, then you're the one getting.
Oh yeah, I know that you constantly fuck with me. I played a cleric one time, and you're like, I need you to play a good character. I was like, okay, I'll play a good character, and then every single NPC is like, this guy is this guy should not be trusted. You shouldn't trust this guy. I'm like, what the fuck?
You remember the demon is like, oh, it's you.
Yeah. Well, okay, my character was a Malconvoker, so he was a good cleric, and he summoned demons because it was part of the class. Like, he summoned demons. Basically, he used his deception skill to summon a stronger demon. It's like, hey, if you beat up that necromancer, that's a bad thing. You should definitely do that. And he's like, okay, so I'm going to do this for evil. Yes, go do it for evil. And he kills the necromancer, and the town was saved. And like, hey. But like every NPC, like I would be healing people. And it's like, this guy's not trustworthy at all. It's like, you're going to get me fucking killed.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to the games that my wife is involved in, I do more random things, make sure that I'm not, even subconsciously being biased.
Oh yeah, I find that it's just best to have boundaries. It's just best to, and just talk to, I talk to my wife. It's like, this is what happened. This is, these are the things that went down, and I'm totally open. It's like, today such and such character, hit on such and such, and this is what happened. This is the scenario that went down. I want her to know everything that happened, even if she's not playing, just so she feels comfortable, just me talking, just talking to other people, and that just makes her feel better. And I'm totally fine with that, because again, I'm not extremely comfortable with romance in tabletop RPGs, like as and as a concept, and just I know people like them, but that's not what I play the game for. I play the game for story, and I play the game for other reasons.
I think I would only use romance in an RPG if it was for deception. An NPC falls in love with the pit player character, or quote unquote falls in love, and it's only to be deceitful. I think you should keep, these quote unquote feely things out of role-playing games. I mean, you can be your character, and if the characters want to start a relationship as characters, fine. You go upstairs and you do the woohoo or whatever, and we don't have to watch, unless that's your thing. But we had oh my goodness, just a quick sidebar. We had one game where this guy was sending the party out to get artifacts, and they were very stupid artifacts, little piddly things. It's like, why is this even an artifact? Well, it turns out they're part of some bigger machine, and to put together will end the world. Well, at one point they're staying in his keep, and they know they're being, watched in the hallways. They can't skulk around the keep, that sort of thing. So one of them ends up accidentally getting caught by the guard, and is like, oh, what's going on in there? And without even thinking, it was the thief, the female player, by the way, who just blurted out, we're having an orgy. Because everybody was in her room, and it's just like, okay. So the bard's like, we're having a what now? And so they had to, throughout the entire evening, while they're making plans, okay, we're gonna go down to the kitchen, we're gonna go through here, we're gonna skulk around and do this, blah 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 blah. They had to make noises in the background, like, oh yeah, it just made it hysterical. I mean, I think I was laughing so hard I was crying. That just some of them, all of a sudden, just somebody would blurt out, "Oh, do me there!" Oh my God, it was hysterical. We've been talking quite some time. I haven't heard from the other.
Right, yeah, and we're running out of time. So go ahead.
I mean, like, when it comes down to like DMing games for myself, like I just pull everyone aside and like, look, I don't want any like romance stuff. I don't want you guys like taking things, like bringing it into the game. It's like, you come in here, you leave it at the door, and that's pretty much how I'll run things. I mean, hell, even if I'm not the DM, I'll try and like pull people aside and be like, look, don't do that. Yeah. We're here to just have fun. Like I'm just here to play the game. I deal with enough drama as is in like life in general. I don't need to be listening to like Becky being upset over Jason for X, Y, and Z. When I'm just here to like play a fantasy game to escape, the trials and tribulations of life.
Yeah, and that is valid, because there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of tension that a couple can bring to the table. Not that they do bring to the table, but there's a lot of tension that can happen. And a lot of the times they're just not aware of it. Like they don't see the outside looking in. They don't see that, their little spat isn't like a 5-10 minute argument that kind of stops the game, and everybody's just kind of like looking to each other. It's like, is this okay? Should we get involved or something like that? So I get it. I feel like it's for me personally, it definitely has to be done with a case by case. If I trust the people, if I think that they're going to be adults, they're going to handle themselves properly, then sure, I'm more than happy to have couples in the games. And I've played with a lot of couples that it's fine. They come in, they get into their characters, and everything's fine. Everything's great. We have a wonderful time. We solve puzzles, we role play, we have action, we have fights. It's great. And then there's some people that come in and they just bring their outside drama into the game, and that's just not fun for the other 4 or 5 people that are there to have there to sit down and have a game. It's not fair to everybody else. So for me, I feel like it has to be a case-by-case basis. You have to sit down and you have to really like, is this okay? Is this okay for my game? And you have to, you have to honestly just be like, look, I don't feel comfortable with the both of you here, or you just be like, hey, yeah, come on, have fun, just don't cause a scene where everybody's cool. It's ultimately, I believe it is up to the DM what they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. And like the only reason I'm like aware of this stuff in general is because like I'm guilty of this stuff. I was in those situations before, and like I was like, Jesus, I know how awkward I made everyone feel at the table. I never want to deal with that ever again.
All right, guys, we've come to the end. We've had a long discussion. I think we delved a little bit into all aspects of this topic, and we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to get into, but we just don't have the time. But who has final thoughts for us?
Don't roll seduction if you don't have to.
True. Very true. Seduction is not mind control.
Depends on who's doing it. Well, I mean, if it's a guy who's being seduced, yeah, it's mind control. I mean, guys are dumb. Even in real life, seduction is mind control. Yeah, just be wary of the couples. Look for signs, and especially people who have been in relationships or who are married, who not the people. I mean, if you yourself as the DM are married, and you know what to look for. The little signs. If you are a married person, or in a long-term relationship, you know the signs to look for. You know the little sideways glances that couples give each other when they're angry with each other. You know the little things that go on, and perhaps you could even step in if you consider it going to be disruptive to your party. Find out what's going on. Maybe be an arbiter. I don't recommend being an arbiter, but sometimes it's the only thing you can do. And above all, if something were to break down in between the couples and both sides of the party decide to stay in the group, be fair and unbiased to both of them. Don't pick one side or the other, because you're going to end up with problems.
Katsuko?
I really don't have anything else I could contribute to this for final thoughts.
Hey, that's
honestly
that's fair. There's there's no rules here, so everybody's fine.
I mean, just basically be chill. Like that's kind of like the rules I try to live by, and I try to like impart that on other people. Like, take a step back. If you're not 100% in for the game that day, say take a day off. It's not a shame. Like, D&D can wait like one day. It's not like you always have to be there.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, sorry to interrupt again, but if you're having a problem with your significant other, take a break from the game, call off, so we're both not coming, and the other group can, play a board game or play Bloodbowl or something, or do something different just to hang out. He's right. We don't have to do this every week.
That is going to be my week project, is trying to figure out if I can stream Bloodbowl.
I'm sure you can. People have been streaming it for a while.
I mean, like,
I can check into it for you if you'd like.
Yeah, definitely. Because I would like to have a league, like have a Midgarin league. I think that would be a lot of fun for everybody.
I mean, heck, just get yourself OBS, and that's the first step right there.
That's actually the program I use now, is OBS.
Well, there you go. You've got 90% of it right there.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for doing this with me. I do appreciate it. Thanks for joining the Knights. I do look forward to speaking more with you, and actually, once the games start back up, I look forward to having you guys participate. Thalor, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. We have come to the end of our time. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you did enjoy us, please don't forget to give us a like, leave down a comment on what you guys, how you guys handle couples in tabletop RPGs, and also share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, just share it. Thank you guys so much for listening to us, and minstrels, play us out.